Shalom Uvracha. This evening we will try to study together Parshat Lech Lecha, and the focus of our study this evening will be the noble reaction of our father Avram, our great father Abraham, to the news that his nephew Lot was taken into captivity. For some reason, when we speak about the kindness and the levels of generosity and philanthropy of Abraham, we generally speak about the next section of the Torah, where it speaks at length about his hospitality, about Abraham's hospitality, Abraham's concern for the people of Sodom and Amorah. But I feel that there's a source in Lech Lecha, in our section, which sometimes may be neglected, which should be emphasized. Vayishma Avram ki nishba ahiv. Abraham hears that his brother, that his relative, has been taken into captivity. If you remember, in chapter 14 of Genesis, there's a lengthy discussion about maybe the first recorded battle in history, the battle of the 4 kings against the 5 kings. And in the course of this battle, the 4 kings are the strongest. They're so powerful that they outdo the power and the military capabilities of the 5 kings. And in the course of the battle, Lot is living in Sodom, and he is taken as a prisoner. When Abraham hears that his relative is in trouble, Vayarek et chanichav yilidei beito. Abraham takes his students. He has 318 students, 318 people who are very close to him, and he pursues 4 of the strongest armies in the world. Vayirdof Adan. He has to free his nephew. But does it really make sense that Abraham should take on the strongest kings in the world? We're talking about a man who we just read a few pages before this, was in the 70s, 80s. This is the man who's going to fight a battle? Have we found Abraham to be a fighter, a warrior, a military expert, a general? The ultimate chesed, the ultimate kindness of sensitivity of someone else's suffering. And he goes and takes upon himself to battle these 4 kings, and ultimately is victorious. To me, is a lesson in terms of determination of a person, that if it's the right thing to do, I'm willing to take on the forces which seem so impossible to defeat. But perhaps more than that, the chesed here is a lesson not just in lo ta'amod al dam re'echa, a teaching of the Torah that we learn later on in the book of Vayikra, in the book of Leviticus, about you cannot stand by the blood of your friend. If God forbid your friend is bleeding, if God forbid your friend is in trouble, if he or she is suffering, you can't just do nothing. You must respond. You have an obligation to do something. Our great teacher teaches us, and immediately he goes to battle to help Lot. But what's fascinating to me is that in a certain sense, Abraham could have argued that it's Lot's fault. Because what is Lot doing in Sodom? The armies came, Vayikchu et Lot vet ruchusho, v'hu yoshev b'sno. And he was living in snow. Why can't you stay closer to the teachings of Uncle Abraham? So there are many people whose attitude may be, if God forbid, someone ends up in trouble. I think there's an expression about how if someone makes a bed, if they made their bed, so let them sleep in it. It's their problem. What do you want from me? I told you to go to Sodom. I told you to get involved with these kinds of people. Maybe true Baal Chesed, maybe someone who's really sensitive to someone else's suffering, never takes into consideration in trying to help someone the fact that that person himself or herself may be responsible for their own downfall. Now, let's say here's someone who's a chain smoker, and they're smoking who knows how many packs a day. And countless amounts of people have been telling them. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. You're ruining your life. And they just ignore everyone. And now they call you up. Chas v'shalom. But they're not feeling well. And that they've been diagnosed with a certain kind of major ailment. The wrong response would be, leave me alone. Leave me alone. It's your problem, not my problem. Avram teaches us that's improper. That's not the Torah way. He doesn't criticize Lot for being in Sodom. He doesn't even mention to Lot that he was in Sodom. If you warn someone, stay away from drinking. You warn them, stay away from drugs. You warn them to stay away from such negative environments. You told them that by accessing certain sites or certain chat rooms, or I don't know, you may end up in a very difficult place. They're now involved, and they're very, very troubled, and they're very much into captivity, similar to the captivity of Lot. What is your response when you hear about it? Let's say someone comes to a physician, and they did everything wrong. They violated all the major principles of proper living, and now they're not feeling well. A sensitive physician doesn't say, "What? You did this, you did this, you did this, you did this." The person is sick. Heal them. Take care of them. You're not here to scold them. Avraham teaches us to listen to people's issues, to understand, to be sensitive to the suffering of others. If someone calls you up and wants to discuss an issue with you, their heart is broken, a relationship has gone sour, or perhaps they have nowhere to live, or perhaps they have family issues or social issues. Currently, we're dealing with several prisoners of war, Gilad ben Aviva. Are we following the pathway of Avram? Do we do anything? Do we at least go to visit with the parents to encourage the family of Gilad Shalit? Do we care? Do we include him in our prayers? Do we think about him? What about the people who are in a certain form of difficulty because they're struggling with religious issues? They're struggling with difficulties of life where they're severed, they're cut off from the rest of the world, religiously speaking. Do we try our best to free them from their captivity? As children, as students of our great teacher Avram, even when it seems so difficult to accomplish it, I believe that the lesson of Avram is, you have to do your best, and Hashem will do the rest. You just have to go out there and try. And once you try, who knows what kind of accomplishments you can accomplish. B'derech she'adam rotzeh lelechet, molichin oto, the way a person is interested in going, God leads them in that pathway. And sometimes when you start, then Hashem, then the Grand Master of the entire world will lead you in accordance with the passage that we're studying about our Father. May we all hear each other about all of those people who are going through various forms of physical, spiritual, psychological captivity. And may our efforts be geared to freeing them from their captivity in the same way that Avram freed Lot from the struggles that he had with the strongest forces at that time. Thank you so much for listening.
מי כמוך